Otro video, rico.toro. Always in the hood, always hard. Talking that trash will pull your card. Knowing nothing in life but to be legit. Don't quote me, boy, cause I ain't saying shit. Beside Europa, you can also find me here a lot of times. Mamawana Bar, right in the middle of the strip. Rico. ¿Qué la que hay, mi gente? Rico.toro. Yeah. All right. Real life experiences. Personal observations. Rico.toro. So, like the title says, 14 years. 14 years to the day. September 13th, 2008. I arrived on a flight out of Newark, New Jersey into Puerto Plata Airport. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for the first time. Not to know what kind of journey or life I would embark on after discovering this thing we call paradise. So, after about like a year and a half, well, maybe a little less than that, but a year and a half of going through divorce, 06, 07, a friend of mine in the gym mentioned to me, you know, he's also a divorcee. A friend of mine in my gym in New Jersey, one day was just, you know, he was kind of a party dude, also kind of newly divorced, and he said, he mentioned some things and asked me if I've ever been, you know, interested in traveling for the ladies, the pleasure of the hoe and go lane. So I said, no, but sounds like something, you know, talk to me. So he told me him and his boy come down here like every September for like 4 years straight. And I said, you know what? Sounds like something I should do. Because, you know, up to that point for like 6 years, married, being responsible, trying to do all the right things mostly, except when I dipped off to Puerto Rico and a few places from time to time. Well, I had to dip off some solo because my ex-wife was always changing jobs and things and didn't have vacation time. So I booked the flight, got the passport, made the move. So the first trip was to Blackbeard's in Costambar. Many of you have been there. So, and you're gonna see some footage, by the way. I'm gonna start showing you some footage you're not supposed to see. Some of my selections over time, just sprinkled in. So, anyways, we at Blackbeard's. They book a week-long trip. I booked 4 days because I was kind of struggling financially then, you know, coming out of divorce, paying a big mortgage by myself for the first time. So within that 4 days, man, I was just like going hard, having a blast. The final night, some of us took a road trip to Classicos, and I was like, wow, this is like the jungle out here. That's when, I mean, they had basically the Chota parade, you know, and it was just like wall to wall, and all hell broke loose. So that kind of, that had me kind of, you know, that very euphoric feeling that a lot of you get. And sadly, I had to go home the next day. So went back. They talked about December. I booked a flight. They didn't make December, but I booked the flight and came solo. You know, just a short weekend warrior trip then. So from then on, next couple years was like twice a year. September was usually the anniversary. You know, they made it like 1 or 2 other times, but then, you know, life happened. One of them got married. You know, they started booking trips and canceling trips. And that's when I learned, if you're gonna do something, don't wait on other people. Don't wait on other people to travel, or you'll never go. You gotta. The older you get, if you wait on others to do stuff, you never get shit done. So, 2011, I think, was the first time that I actually wifed up with someone for a couple of days. Met somebody, had the little toda la noche thing, and she was the one that suggested staying around a little longer. And so next thing, also coincidentally, at first time it was the first woman that cooked for me in her apartment. She had her own spot here back then, which I found pretty cool. And first time I smashed on their turf, home cooked meal, etc. 2011. And then around that same time, I also went to Boca Chica for the first time. So a few days there, and then so in the years after that, I pretty much 2 to 3 times a year, I guess. And then so I started dividing sometime between Sosua, sometime between Boca Chica. Blackbeard was out after those first 2-3 trips. After that, there was no reason really to stay there at all anymore. After splitting a few trips, 3 days here, 3 days there. And then so we go fast forward 2015, 2016-ish is when I met the notorious Amiga Loca. And yeah, a couple years, I think it was 2017, 2018, I decided to try the working vacation. After working remotely a lot during those years, in the States, did my first working trip. It was got a little Airbnb, stayed there 3 weeks, and that was kind of culture shock, because I worked my 9 to 5, got off 6 p.m. after looking at spreadsheets all day and numbers, and I turned the corner on the Pedro Casante, and it was moto noise and ho noise, and I was where am I? These two worlds colliding, the corporate world and the streets of, Sosua. I'm man, it's just crazy. First time, like I say, I went from the office to the streets like that. So, then it became something I did a year, 2, once or twice more in between other trips, and I was kind of hooked. And living here, I've went down, stayed in the capital once or twice. I stayed in Santiago. I stayed at Amiga Loca's apartment in Santiago when she had an apartment there. And, stayed there another time and seen Puerto Plata. I mean, some guys admittedly have been coming down here a lot less time than I have, but they've seen a whole lot more of this beautiful country than I have. So yeah, by some people's terms, I'm lagging behind. But they can't roll their R's like rico.toro, or they can't flip it in Spanglish and Spanish like I can. Esto lo que hay, tú sabes, con la fiesta. So, anyways, now we're here, 14 years later, September 13th, 2008, 13 de septiembre de 2008, yeah.